The picture you are seeing here is unprecedented. We have not seen this Attorney General and this Secretary of the Treasury do a joint press conference before today. And the reason is because of the scale of the alleged criminality that they are announcing here in this deal with Binance.
Things just got worse for Binance. As we know from yesterday's video, Binance just got criminally charged.
Binance has agreed to plead guilty to willfully violating the Bank Secrecy Act, knowingly failing to register as a money transmitting business, and willfully violating the International Emergency Economic Powers Act.
They also got fined. This is actually one of the largest fines in history of the U.S. Treasury.
The Justice Department is requiring Binance to pay $4.3 billion in penalties and forfeitures.
This is the largest enforcement action in the history of the Treasury Department, and you get a sense of why that is when you read the specifics of what the Treasury is laying out here.
And of course, founder and CEO CZ has also pleaded guilty.
We have also filed a felony charge against and secured a guilty plea from Changpeng Zhao. Zhao willfully violated federal law that requires financial institutions to guard against money laundering and terrorist financing.
And as BNB token dips, yet Bitcoin, the Bitcoin price continues to rally. What comes next for Binance will shock you.
All of that is the reason why the Treasury Department is now imposing monitoring on Binance, which will get active reports inside the firm to understand what's going on in real time. Monitoring has never been done before in the cryptocurrency space. We have seen that in other criminal allegations in corporate America. This will be a first for the crypto space.
So even though Binance Exchange is not a U.S. company, it appears they will now be monitored by the U.S. government.
And there also is an important detail here, Scott, which they're calling the SAR look back. SAR is, again, the Suspicious Activity Report. The Treasury Department is going to get a look back at suspicious activity that took place historically on Binance. So they're going to get intelligence on all sorts of alleged criminal and terrorist transactions that took place on that exchange going back for years. It will be a treasure trove for U.S. investigators, U.S. intelligence, U.S. law enforcement, and the rest as they pour through all those transactions and try to make connections and follow the money going back years here, Scott. So a real historic.
So with the U.S. government combing through past transactions, are you in trouble with the U.S. government if you used Binance in the past? Here's who they're looking for.
Terrorist financing took place on the Binance exchange, including for groups like Al-Qaeda, ISIS, Hamas, and others. They're saying that ransomware was paid for on the Binance exchange. They're saying that child abuse materials were paid for on the Binance exchange. Binance never reported transactions with websites devoted to selling child abuse materials. They're also saying that all sorts of illegal activity, including drug purchases, were transferred on the exchange through darknet markets, scams, and other illicit activity.
So you're fine. Most of us are fine. The government is looking for the big crimes, the big players. And keep in mind, founder CZ does now face a maximum of 10 years in prison with fines up to $500,000, plus any profits he made from the alleged scheme. Although, as stated by the judge at the hearing, Zhao's agreement includes a waiver of his right to appeal, provided that his sentence doesn't exceed 18 months. So many people are saying that 18 months would be the absolute maximum, but when in doubt, zoom out, learn from the past. History doesn't repeat itself, but it often rhymes. Founder of BitMEX, Arthur Hayes, which at the time was near the #1 exchange in the world, much like Binance, is the #1 exchange now. Arthur, founder CEO, who by the way I partied with in Singapore, he throws a rager, he got near the same charges and he did no jail time. I think he got like 2 years probation and had to step down as CEO. BitMEX was also not a US company, and Arthur Hayes did not live in America. He saw no jail time. CZ was not running an American company, so if Arthur Hayes got 1 to 2 years probation, my bet is CZ gets 2 to 5. And Bitcoin is pumping because now we have clarity. The dark clouds around Binance are starting to clear up.
The reaction I'm getting from investors, those in the crypto space, is actually pretty optimistic. They're saying this was the last shoe to drop. This was the big uncertainty hanging over these markets, and that if it can survive something like this happening, CZ getting taken out as the CEO of this company, that there's a lot of optimism that maybe this is now priced in. They know what the price tag is in terms of the resolution, the plea deal here. Binance is not shutting down. It now makes up about 30% of global volume. It was 80% at one point. But that worst case scenario of Binance needing to shut down is not happening. So there's a little bit of optimism here, despite this being objectively negative news.
And by the way, even the alleged illicit activity that the US government said Binance facilitated is nothing compared to what happens with the dollar.
Less than 1% of activity in crypto is for illicit purposes like those that you just described. By the way, the US dollar cash is about 4% used for illicit activity. So crypto is certainly not unique in that a small percentage of bad actors try to use it. That's why we at Coinbase, for instance, have really strong transaction monitoring programs, and we've invested a lot in these programs around KYC and AML. But the centralized actors need to follow those rules.
I personally think CZ didn't have to do any of this. He chose to let's just pay the fine, I'll step down, Binance can go on its way on its own. By the way, he still retains majority share, so he still has ownership. But now that this dark cloud has been lifted off of the space, the Bitcoin price did dip on the news, but look, it appears we're already higher. And it makes sense, right? Banks have been fined for the exact same thing, if not worse. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen can't pronounce Binance.
We are here today to announce that the Justice Department has secured felony guilty pleas from the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange, Binance.
Actually, it's Binance.
Binance.
Binance. Largest virtual.
Binance.
Binance. And let me be clear. It's Binance.
All while all the major Bitcoin ETF companies readied their application secretly. Grayscale had meetings with the SEC's Division of Trading and Markets yesterday, meaning Grayscale is cooking. Also, Cathie Wood's company becomes the first issuer to publicly disclose basis points fees for its Bitcoin ETF, signaling constructive talks with the SEC. And with the looming approval of the BlackRock spot Bitcoin ETF combined with the Bitcoin halving next year, this could be the perfect storm.
We know in the past that Bitcoin has had these 2-year cycles that are generally centered around the halvening. And so we have another halvening coming up in April. And I'm not one of those people that thinks the halvening is the actual catalyst, but it's one of those sentiment things that all of a sudden now you have a reduction in supply. Couple that with the fact that we have the Federal Reserve that is likely done for some time being of raising rates. If not, we don't think they're going to go to 10%. Maybe they go to 5.5%, right? And then the second part of that is we now have these ETF filings. So for the first time ever, just like the gold ETF, you're going to have retail investors, not that they couldn't buy it before, but now registered investment advisors. Your Morgan Stanley wealth manager can allocate to this. And so that's what's got the market excited about this new ETF.
This is an ongoing story, so click subscribe to stay informed. In altcoin news, we have THORchain making moves. The monthly trading volume on THORchain has exceeded now $5 billion, the highest it has ever been. This is good for the Rune token. It's cool to see a decentralized exchange excel. Also, altcoin Radix making moves just in. Radix attracts $20 million in total value locked after only 8 weeks. No smart contract hacks and exploits, next generation UX, and DevX, hidden L1 gem. Could this be the next Sol? And of course, Bonsai's seed just went live. I am an investor. Help us build the future of no-code Web3 project management. From token creation to the sale, we've made it simple and secure. Basically, what this platform is aiming to be, it's a no-code toolkit for projects to launch on as a competition to Pink Sale. So again, a no-code toolkit for the builders. Mainnet goes live next week. It's cool to see some of the innovation in the space. Like always, see you tomorrow.